Bluebeard here to torture a confession out of Jack like he works for the U.S. government.
The man's like, after I lost my job with ICE, I came here.
I did a stint at Guantanamo, and now
that's where I learned this trick.
Yeah, and now I'm here to.
You wouldn't believe how much information you get.
I'm here
out
to
of
bring
torture.
some mundane ways.
Now,
to
most of it's not correct, but you get a ton of information.
All I need is for him to say that he did it, so that I can kill him.
Yeah, exactly. Hello and welcome to Comic Dissection, the comic book club where we examine graphic novels, trade paperbacks, and other such picture/word media through an intersectional leftist lens.
Picture word media.
Picture word media on papers and such. I am Reno Valentino, and with me, as always, Cecilia Rose.
That's me.
How are you, Cecilia?
It's the morning, and I am here.
It is the morning. Here we are. Yeah. Oh. Like, we'll get there. We'll get there. It'll take a little time. And today, we have on, I dare say, on the chopping block.
It might be a little bit of chopping.
No, I'm gonna do some chopping because
I want to lodge a formal complaint. This is a very white story.
Bill Willingham, and when I tell you about this guy, you'll understand why. So we are doing Volume 1 of Fables, Legends in Exile. It is the work of Bill Willingham, Lam Medina, Steve Legiloha, and Craig Hamilton. All are responsible for this. They are all responsible. They're all responsible for this. So the reason I picked Fables,
apparently none of them know how to draw a single person of color.
No, that's unnecessary. That's although these are there's a wolf in here and a pig and a flying monkey.
There is a pig.
Yeah, that's some pig.
And there's also like animals, because I mean, I assume by the pig you mean Prince Charming. No. But there are also some actual animals.
Touche. There's also the troll but these are white people fables. These are European and English fables apparently, because you are correct. It's a mono-ethnic crowd here. So, the reason I picked Fables, Legends in Exile, is because in September of last year, our old boy Bill, who is the writer and main creator of Fables, got some notoriety because he was fighting with DC Comics. Apparently, DC Comics had done some things with Fables that he was not happy with. Some of the people that they had doing guest work on Fables were taking it in directions he wasn't happy. Video game came out, kind of a choose-your-own-adventure called The Wolf Among Us, where you play as Bigby solving a mystery. Similar to this volume. Different mystery, though. And he wasn't happy with like the people who did the writing for that video game, and he didn't think DC Comics was giving him the money he was owed, etc., etc.
I mean, he's probably right about that.
Here's the thing: this is one of those things. It's like that meme when the person you hate most makes a good point. Like this is a person I don't particularly like doing the right thing. So he took his ball and went home in the form of, he said, "All right, I am the sole owner of the Fables characters and their world. So I'm making it public domain. Anybody wants the Fables universe, you can have it. Do whatever you want with it. Like, fuck you, DC Comics."
And Once Upon a Time was born.
Yeah. Yeah, well, actually, Once Upon a Time was even before that. But man, talk about a similar storyline.
Facts.
So Bill, who is like, he's pro-life, he's pro-Israel, he's very like fucking, I guess.
So if there is a wrong opinion, he stumbles.
He seems to have a lot of them.
Cool.
And we will definitely hit on a lot of that while discussing Fables, because he doesn't he doesn't feel any need to hide his views when his characters are talking.
On the other hand, as someone who's on the opposite end of basically every one of those pieces of spectrum, I can say I also don't hide my views, though.
Yeah. So DC Comics released a statement and was like, let's see if I can put this in lawyer speak. They basically said, and then we're like, actually, no,
yes, he is a lawyer.
Yes. I am not. My sister is. So DC Comics was like, no, actually, we own all that stuff. And having not read the contract, and neither has anyone else, it's basically kind of in limbo until someone tries it. I guess until someone tries to make a Fables spinoff, and then this will come to a head. It's very similar to what happened, like with the Happy Birthday song and how are you familiar with the Happy Birthday to You? Happy Birthday? That's a copyrighted song, and like if you want to put it in a movie, you have to pay a bunch of money. But it's been challenged a bunch.
What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. It's been challenged a bunch by people that are like, no, that shit's public domain. But somebody owns the rights to Happy Birthday. And so
the world makes me so tired.
They constantly butt heads about it. I feel like Fables is going to go that same route, is that until someone steps up and then DC sues and then they countersues and it goes to whatever court it goes to.
Vertigo's part of DC, right?
Yes. Yeah. Vertigo is kind of DC's, it's their adult label and also their this isn't superhero stuff label. So it's kind of where they put their alternative comics. It's where Sandman was.
Yeah. I remember Vertigo. I remember Sandman was Vertigo.
But they also have Black Label now, which is adult but still comic books, hero stuff. So like they branched off into yet a third label now so there's Vertigo, DC, and DC Black Label.
You can't see it, but I'm rolling my eyes.
They'll probably be like, it's kind of like how Walt Disney has like 30 different companies to try and trick you into thinking that there's not just Walt Disney, that there's not one entertainment group in the world.
They shouldn't be allowed to do that.
I know. They're like, oh, this is Troll House. This isn't Disney. This is something totally different. And this is a scary horror movie. Disney wouldn't dare. Disney wouldn't dare do a horror movie. This is a different company. And we all just smile and nod, play along. Speaking of fables, this is a fable we all embrace.
The freedom
together.
of choice, and an American fable.
Yes, Capitalism breeds ingenuity. So I just thought that was a weird little thing, and I was kind of hoping that something would have come to a head. I probably would have brought this comic up earlier, but I was sort of waiting for a resolution. Yeah. For it to either be public domain or not public domain, but no one's pushed back on it. So
I'll do it. I'll make a spinoff where we actually add like some person of color.
Oh, then Bill will sue you. Then Bill himself will sue you.
I prefer to go straight to the top.
Yeah, him and DC will team up.
Well, common enemy will do a lot for a lot of people.
My God, right? So, let's jump right into it. We have Fables, Legends in Exile, Chapter 1. This is a story of 5 chapters, and then we have a couple little shorts at the end. Wolf in the Fold and The Price of a Happy Ending. Neither of which I think really added a lot to
I wasn't sure if we were... So I didn't skim the one that's just the story without any pictures. Yeah. Because I know that this is a comic book podcast. And so I wasn't sure if we were doing anything.
I'm only going to mention it briefly.
Okay.
And then the last 2 are like actually previews for Volume 2. So I also didn't bother.
Although there is Aladdin in that.
Yeah. You get a person of color, although drawn pale, even then. So we open up with Jack and the Beanstalk fame in a taxi with a very stereotypical taxi driver speaking in broken English. pulling up to the curve on Bullfinch Street, and Jack jumps out, and he goes running in.
Yep.
And runs to the security office of Big B Wolf, also known as the Big Bad Wolf. Isn't that Big B?
So clever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And says hey, I'm here to report a murder. Because that's the thing.
Yeah, this does start out kind of like high stakes all at once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's the thing. I'm gonna rag on this, but I actually do kind of like the story that's hidden behind all the bullshit. Like, I like the idea of all the fables being ran out of Fableland and being forced to get like daytime jobs here in the real world.
Oh God.
And how would each character like translate to this world? Like, it's interesting that the Big Bad Wolf becomes a private eye, and that Jack, the Beanstalk, is a con artist. Like, you know.
To bring it back to Once Upon a Time again, yeah. I don't dislike the notion of taking fairy tale characters and moving them over to the real world. I think that can be a very fun premise. Mm-hmm. I am not angry at any of that. I do not care that much for any of these characters, though.
They're all kind of dicks.
Yeah.
Like,
yes, they're all kind of assholes.
And so you don't really have anywhere to hang your hat on, like, this is a character I can actually get behind, I actually like. And I always have a problem with that. Like, it's why I never really got into Rick and Morty or Aqua Teen Hunger Force or, like, a lot of, like, the edgy cartoons where, like, everyone's a dick all the time to everyone.
For no reason.
Yeah, and I'm like, great. Oh, hey, this guy's a dick, too. Like,
you have to be able to root for somebody.
Yeah.
Like, even like in He-Man, I can at least like root a little bit for Skeletor or want somebody to like do something.
Well, there are good people there. Like, even if they're boring, they're not bad people. These are all kind of bad people. Like, there's not a redeemable lot in the whole bunch.
Even Snow White is just kind of like bland. Like, there's nothing.
The first thing she says is fucking like, "Oh,
keep your marriage problems to yourselves."
Well, that and the mundanes expect big government to solve all their problems, but here in Fantasy World, we solve our own problems. And then the very next line is like, and I would love to actually help solve your problems, but I don't have any money because our government's underfunded. And I'm like, okay, gonna play both sides of the fence here, are we, Bill?
I was gonna say, now that you've explained who Bill is, some of these lines make more sense.
Oh, right? Yeah. Yeah, he's not a, he's kind of a bad guy.
Alright, but we got our
yeah,
our intro here.
Yeah, he asked, did you blow down any piggy homes lately? He's like, I'm a bit busy, Jack. Did you run all the way over here just to trade verbal barbs, or is there something else you need? And he's like, yeah, terrible things happen. And then, yes, we cut to Beauty and the Beast. And I like that whenever Beauty is mad at the Beast, he, like, starts to revert back to Beast mode. So every time they have a fight, he gets ugly.
I was going to say, that is one way to advertise to everyone that you're not having a good day in your marriage.
We are having marital problems, yeah. And it's like, that's funny, because all your Facebook pictures said you're having a great time. And there are pictures of meals that you made
we've
together.
Discussed before that we don't particularly care for, like, people, like, shit-talking their partners.
Yeah.
This is one way to advertise that to absolutely everyone.
Yeah, you can't even help it. It's like, oh, they fighting again. Shit.
Why are they even together? She's all the time mad at this man. He's all the time looking like a gargoyle.
Right? Like, and you're just like, oh, I wonder what they're fighting about now. Yeah,
it's that would suck. Money.
Imagine
it's always money.
It's always money. Because, like, long story short, all these people are here because this unknown entity named the Adversary took over all their kingdoms, and most of them are refugees. Really they barely got out with the clothes on their back, so they no longer are rich, happily ever after princes and princesses.
So I want to lodge a point here because we've discussed that the author is really, really conservative about life. And one of the things that they talk about towards the end of the book is how the adversaries started in that kingdom over there.
Yeah, they started in the Emerald City, which is, of course, the Wizard of Oz. And they were like, oh, it didn't bother us because they were all kind of weirdos anyway.
And it was over there. Yeah. And, like, it's okay as long as it's over there and it's not our problem. Yeah. But eventually they got to our city, and now it's our problem.
If we'd united earlier, we might have been able to stop them.
Yeah. Interesting philosophy you got there, Bill. Pick a side, motherfucker.
Yeah. Apparently he is... He's not completely black and white. Like, there's a couple areas where he seems to know the score, but there's also many where he seems to be really not so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, Snow White, who is the director of operation of their little refugee camp. It's like a little Chinatown, but for fantasy characters. They've all grouped together in this little area in New York City. And she tells him, sorry, I can't do anything for you. Maybe you should buy a glamour so that dude doesn't look like a freak show. Because otherwise we're sending him upstate. Because upstate's where all the fantasy creatures are that can't hide that they're fantasy creatures. Your talking pigs, your trolls, those kind of things. And so she's like, yeah, we're sending your husband upstate. He can't get this look under control.
Either help him hide his face or we will hide it for you.
Yeah, exactly. We'll take care of business. And she's like, well, we can't afford a glamour. Like most people, we got out barely with our clothes on our back to all our lands and holdings. And
we lost our stuff,
man. We lost all our stuff. And she's like, yeah, that's rough.
Life's hard.
Yeah, and they're like, well, we'll go over your head. We'll go to Nat King Cole was a merry old soul and talk to him directly.
I did not know who Nat King Cole was.
Yeah. It's an old children's poem. And honestly, that's the only lines I remember. Nat King Cole was a merry old soul, and a merry old soul was he. He called for his pipe, and he called for his something, and he called for his fiddler's three. Anyway, it's just a poem about a real happy king. And in this world, he's the happy face of the community. He's actually the man in charge, but he can't make any he can't make any tough decisions. He's all empathy and smiles, and then he gives Snow White all the actual duties. And
all the thankless work falls to a woman.
It also kind of feels like Nat King Cole is like the supposed to be the representation of like the liberal ideals, like, oh yeah, I know you're all empathetic and you just filled with love and you want to help everybody, but that's not how the real world works. Snow White is how the real world works. Nat King Cole is this idealized nature that you wish was the way the world was, and this like, I don't know, like it feels like Nat King Cole being in charge, but like just being the face of the operation. Is kind of let's look at the copyright date here because I just made a connection and I want to see. 2012. Who was president in 2012? What was it? Some guy that ran on all hope and change and good vibes and might have had a skin color that people didn't agree with, or was that happening sometime around 2012? I'm so bad at dates. Anyway, I also may be completely barking up the wrong tree here, but this is my interpretation. Snow White throws them out because they mentioned that she might have had a dalliance with 7 dwarfs at once. I will also say this is not a sex-positive book.
No.
Anytime anybody has sex, they get dragged for it. Like, any fucking time. I am
going to drag Prince Charming for it, but mainly because he talks during it.
No, he's a monster. Like, that's not, like...
It's not actually about him having sex.
No, exactly.
I am sex positive. Like, that's fine.
No, it's about him being lying and manipulative and...
also, his bed talk is the fucking worst. Like...
Well, apparently not. Like...
I don't...
His lady seems rather fond of it, but
yeah, well, that poor girl needs someone to help her.
She needs someone to help her for sure. But they mentioned the 7 dwarfs, and Little Boy Blue, who is her assistant, throws them out.
Yeah, you don't mention the dwarfs. Yeah, you don't mention Snow White. Yeah. Damn.
And Big Bad Wolf is like, "Oh, can I come in? I'm about to make her day even worse."
She thought she was having a bad day before. Right. I'm just here to really cinch that for you.
Yeah. One of her problems is on the next page is that her ex, Prince Charming, is back in town. And he goes into a diner and eats, and then straight up seduces the waitress so he doesn't have to pay for his meal. And actually talks her...
I wrote down here, I find Prince Charming doesn't live up to his name.
And he talks her into paying for it. He's like, yeah, I have no money. Can you pay for my meal? Because I was just going to dine and dash, and you would have had to pay for it anyway. So, but yes, he walks the waitress out.
Those moments where my children have better morals than grown men.
Oh, well, Prince Charming. I like that his name's Prince Charming. He's got to be a narcissist, right? Like, there's no way this guy's going to be anything but, like, a bad guy. Because Prince Charming, you've named him after the most positive thing that he puts forth. And that's a likable personality, which means that he has nothing else. He's not called Prince Loyal. He's not called Prince Good with Money. He's not called Prince Trustworthy. He's just charming.
See, I could buy the notion of, like, making him like a people pleaser or like just like a, you know, like a teetotaler or some kind of thing where it's like he's always trying.
He's royalty. That's a different type of that's not a people pleaser, that's expecting to be pleased by people.
Okay, but he's bad at it is my point.
I mean, I don't know that he is. Here's the thing, it's hard to tell. When you're good looking, you don't have to be particularly charming. So, when someone is Prince Charming,
well, then just call him the hot dude. Don't charming implies that like he has some kind of a personality that would make you want to take his side.
Well, let's think of the other definition of charm. To be charmed, to be bewitched. His might be a supernatural ability because.
Okay.
It might be magic based because I agree with you. He doesn't say anything that's particularly knee melting that like, and he is very forthcoming with how he is going to take advantage of people and use them. And every woman in here except Snow White seems to be pretty susceptible to to that. So yes, it could quite literally be a charm that he casts on people. Magic is here. So,
it is, you're right.
Yeah, so or it could be that Bill doesn't know how to write charisma and charm.
That's the word I was looking for, charisma.
Yeah,
charisma. Yeah. I'm sitting here like there's a word. There's a particular word. What word am I trying to He has zero charisma.
Yes.
He is irritating from the first time he starts talking.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm like, Jesus Christ, Snow White, what were you doing?
Well, you don't know a cheater's a cheater till they cheat, right? And he was a pretty face and he was rich. And she was a poor girl that lived in the woods with 7 dwarfs. that she may or may not have had any relationship with. I agree. You shouldn't jump to the conclusion that Snow White had any dalliances with those 7 dwarfs. So Bigby comes in and tells her, hey, your sister, the kind of crazy
wild
child, Red Rose? Yeah. Her apartment's trashed, and I think that violence may have happened, and she may have been kidnapped.
So I do actually really like this, the fact that the other character is Red Rose. When I was growing up, we had the old... we had a couple of old fairy tale books, and Snow White and Red Rose was one of my favorite, like... little stories in that book.
I do not know the story of Red Rose, like as far as like the fable of her goes. Like I've heard her name mentioned, in the princess pantheon with Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella and all those, but like I don't know anything about her. I don't know anything about her story. So this is my first introduction to her as an actual character. She's wild.
So, according to Wikipedia, Snow White and Red Rose are 2 little girls living with their mother, a poor widow, in a small cottage by the wood. Snow White is quiet and shy and likes to spend her time indoors, and Red Rose is outspoken, lively, and cheerful. So they're kind of like the opposites of the same coin type of deal.
I did not realize that Red Rose was actually part of the Snow White pantheon of fiction. That's wild.
Yeah. She's actually a real life character.
Oh. I mean, a real life fable.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, I got
you know what I meant.
I do. So yeah, she's like, if you're here to tell me that my ex is in town, I already know. And Bigby's like, no, it's about Red Rose. And at first, Snow White
is... where they show the scene of the crime?
No, not yet. A couple pages, yeah. But this is where Snow White pulls rank and is like, well, I'm not super worried because her apartment's always trashed because she's a party girl.
Yep.
But I'm going with you. And he's like, I don't really need you tagging along. And she's like, well, I'm pulling rank. I go with you.
You don't get a choice, bitch.
Or you're fired. Then we go back to Prince Charming and his lady that he picked up. And, we will skip that pillow talk because...
oh my God, it's so
Cecilia's
bad.
not a fan.
About this point is when I really got sick of Prince Charming, and we are only like 20 pages
Page 20, yeah. It also is very much that scene in American Psycho where he's having sex, but he's flexing in the mirror and like looking at himself because she says you're amazing, and he says I know, which is exactly what you'd expect.
You can't see it, so I'm putting my head in my hand and rubbing my face.
Oh, well, they can hear the sigh. Bigby and Snow White pull up in the taxi at the crime scene. Bigby is smoking in the cab, despite being told repeatedly not to. This will be a recurring thing. Bigby is a man that smokes, and
I don't like that aspect of any. Like, this is one of those things that bugs me in real life. Like, there are people who are allergic.
It is definitely of the times, though. Like in 2012, it was a little more likely to have people smoking everywhere. Now when I see people smoke, it's weird. Mm. But like in the 90s and 2000s, like the early 2000s, it was commonplace. Smoking on planes, smoking in restaurants, smoking was you would smoke in like, a Belk store while you were trying on pants. Like, people just fucking smoked everywhere. And it's me and Gorship were doing movie for Judgmental Hard Junkies recording yesterday, and that movie took place in the 90s, and the main character there is smoking like all the fucking time, and like he's smoking in offices and hospitals, and there as here.
In hospitals.
Yeah, there as here. I'm like, man, different times. It's wild that people used to get away with that shit. Fucking wild.
I agree.
But they're on the stairs right before they go into the crime scene, and it's a small thing, but it's gonna get my favorite panel thing. Is the shadow of Bigby is the wolf on the stairs. I'm like, that's good.
That is good. Yeah. That was nice. I noticed that too.
Yeah, that was it. So they get up and Jack's waiting outside, and they open up the crime scene, and there's just blood everywhere.
It is very bloody.
And someone wrote "No More Happily Ever After" on the wall, which is just
there are CDs on the floor.
Yeah,
because we are definitely dating ourselves.
We are 2012, folks, and Jack's like, I've already looked. She's not here. Which, of course, like that's the first thing you do.
Well, it does look like somebody was murdered.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm not like the fact that he's already checked is not surprising.
Yeah, and so Bigby, of course, is doing detective work, and he notices that there's a lamp on the floor that he picks up. He's looking through the CDs. Some of them are also on the floor, and a strange thing he noticed is that the refrigerator has some bolt holes in it. And it turns out someone had a lock on the fridge. And he's all happy. He's like, aha! Figured it out! And I will say this, as much as I'm going to badmouth Bill, I do kind of I like the mystery. Like, it's a good detective story if you take out how unlikable the characters are. Like, the pieces fit pretty well. Like, it comes to a satisfying resolution. See,
I kind of thought the opposite.
Yeah?
I feel like it's not that it wasn't a good detective story so much as, I don't know if this might just be a me thing. It feels like one of those stories where you come up with the conclusion first.
Yeah.
And then you backfit everything to make that conclusion work. Mm. I didn't like the ending.
Okay. All right. Well, we will head that way because we end issue 1 with Jack getting police brutality.
Bigby also is just like, for all of his noticing little tiny clues, he's also just kind of a bad detective.
Well, we can say that. The first thing he does when he walks out is accuses Jack.
Yep.
Jack swings on him, and he's like, well, now I can arrest you. You assaulted an officer, which is just, man, cops. Even in Fabletown, they're all the fucking same.
Mm-hmm.
But you say bad detective, but later on he says, I solved most of this as soon as I walked in. So putting Jack behind bars here seems, at this point, like... It seems like jumping the gun, but he already knows Jack is a guilty party. At this juncture.
Yeah, fine. Okay.
It's weird that he does the exact same thing to Bluebeard, though, as we will see. But we're opening into...
I did write for that cover panel there. I asked why the Kingpin was messing with Cinderella.
Seemed like an odd choice. I also don't know who the little fish man down there is.
I don't understand a lot of the cover art in between the...
It's kind of like... They look like old paintings that you would see in an escape room. Because they seem like they would have clues to how to escape an escape room because they don't make sense. Just
have you ever seen Madoka Magica?
On their own? No.
Okay, I'm going to have to make you watch that.
Madoka Magica. I like the name of it.
But the bad guys in Madoka Magica have a very similar kind of vibe where you spend most of your time in this really cute-looking anime thing. Mm-hmm. And then for the bad guys, they're just these random, like... superimposed real life looking art things for some reason. Like that's just what the villains are, and it's the panels for this are very similar to
the difference between the covers and the interiors. Yeah, because the interiors are your normal comic fare. Yep. But the covers all are kind of like they really feel like painted works of art that you would put in a museum when you were trying to tell someone where the national treasure was. Like because they all seem like I'm like, well, that doesn't. Makes sense. Fit. Unless it's a clue. Yeah. We find out that Snow White has returned and Bigby's waking up and there's a pig sleeping on his chair. He has to wake up. And
poor pig.
It turns out this is the pig from the Three Little Pigs, the one whose house was made out of straw. And he lives upstate because obviously he's a talking pig. He can't really pass in New York, in the downtown New York City. Although, man, the things that can pass in downtown New York City, he might have been all right. But this pig is like, yeah, I'm not a fucking farm pig. I'm a city pig. I like the lights. I like the party. And Bigby's like, well, what I don't like is you just thinking you can crash here whenever he wants. He's like, well, that's just you doing a good deed and showing you're a better person than you were when you blew my house down. He was like, it was like a bundle of hay at best.
The pig holds a grudge.
Yes, I do like their little like fucking back and forth here. And the pig lights up a cigarette. And Bigby's like, you want some breakfast before I kick you out? He's like, ooh, yeah, what are you having? He's like, ham and eggs. He's like, I take it back. You're still a monster through and through.
So I'm not convinced that Bill doesn't have stock in a tobacco company.
No, just my God, right? Gotta make that money. We have Prince Charming leaving a note for the waitress he slept with, basically saying, I took a key. I took some money.
This shit.
I left you some laundry to do. And... if you could go down to the corner and pick up my dry cleaning, that'd be great. Also,
this Clark Kent wannabe ass. I could not imagine a hookup giving me a list of chores.
A list of to-dos.
And then helping himself to the shit in my purse.
I'm sure you wouldn't mind. I'll see you tonight. Yeah.
I swear to God. Oh.
Here's the thing. Out of the whole, it's all infuriating, but the sentence that cinched it as just, this is an irredeemable just piece of shit is, please pay special attention to the instructions on the clothes. So like, I want you to do my laundry, but every piece has to be treated different. And you need to read the instructions on each tag to make sure you don't fuck it up. And I'm like, man, if it's that important to you, you're gonna have to do this one yourself.
I was so...
Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't think he ever comes back here, so I have no idea. I would better understand if this was a charmed spell or if he was charming. If, like, he came back and his shit was all, like, on fire in the hallway or something. Like...
I'd light a shit
like
on
he pushed
fire
this girl very far on their first night. And the following morning, he takes even more liberties with her kindness. And yeah, I'm just curious. Like this never really resolves itself. So I'm very curious as to how that would go.
There are a lot of loose threads.
Yeah,
with this
of course, this is a volume 1 of like a 14 volume. Fable is done now. I think it ended up being like 150 issues or something. And this is kind of... So some of these things, I've read this and I've read volume 2. And I think some of the things do kind of carry through and get solved later. So Snow White is sitting with Bigby in the park. And every conversation they have kind of goes the same way. Like... Bigby is sort of insensitively going over the case, and Snow White's getting mad. And it's like, it's the same thing.
That child has a hair trigger.
Just
really
wash, rinse, repeat. Yeah. And this time she gets mad because he's like, hey, I'm pretty sure that I'm also got you on my suspect list, just so you know. Like, which makes perfect sense. Yeah. Those two don't get along. So
now she's dead.
And now she's dead. Yeah, it's the most obvious thing. We cut to Bluebeard's apartment, which is like a castle inside an apartment because he's rich. And he's teaching fencing lessons to Cinderella. Oh, she of the glass slipper.
Oh, I did write down, I think at this point... Oh, yeah, this is exactly the point. Two things. One, I don't think I've seen a single cell phone, but the gossip in this town travels so fast that they must all have a telepathic connection, because nothing happens that they don't all know about within 2 seconds.
I blame? Little boy Blue. I don't trust that kid. And he comes, blows his horn. Sheep's in the meadows, cows in the corn. I feel like he's just gossip. I just think he's running around telling everybody.
The moment someone steps into Snow White's office, he's on the phone.
Yeah.
Hey, guess what I just saw?
Because where else could it come from? It's got to come from someone on the inside, right? And the dude's a bugler. It's his job to make information spread, and to wake people up. So there's no evidence of it, but I'm laying all of it. Little boy Blue is a gossip. And he is just anything that happens in that office.
I swear, the way that they know. And two, so this is probably something I'm only noticing because we did Understanding Comics. Mm-hmm. But talking about the stuff in the gutters, I don't understand why different pages are different colors for no reason. You spin pages where there's red and
black,
then white and then black.
Yellow, black again.
I probably wouldn't have noticed prior to Understanding Comics.
Yay, Understanding Comics.
But I do want to point out that, they're different color panels for no reason. And I spent a significant amount of time trying to figure out if there was a rhyme or reason to why some are different colors and why but it's all about random.
Matching someone's clothes. This is red because Bluebeard's shirt's red. This is green because Bigby's tie's green. No, I have no idea.
I know. I wanted to point out that I noticed it and it seems unnecessary.
It does. It's a little distracting. I think it would. It's. Here's the thing, it's distracting because you could have done something cool with it. You could have been when it was Bluebeard's point of view, you have a blue background. When Bigby's talking, maybe a brown.
Or even just color. This is a clue. So we've got this we could Blue's Clues it. But
it's a blue page.
But they Blue's didn't.
Clues.
We just have random black gutters and random red.
Here's some red.
And for something
and they cover the gambit. I'm flipping through the pages. You got pink, you got purple, you got just paper. They really do.
And I wanted to point that out. Quick note. All right.
No, it's a good one. So Bluebeard and Cinderella are fencing, and of course they're talking about the gossip that's going around. Rose Red becoming a corpse. And Bluebeard gets a little offended because I don't know if you know the Fable of Bluebeard, Cecilia.
I was not aware of it prior to this.
So Bluebeard, it's right out of Mother Goose. It's just not one of the ones that gets a lot of play because it's super violent. Guy marries a girl, real rich dude, and gives her the keys to every room in his opulent castle. And he's like, you can go anywhere you want except this one room. And it's like a trust test. You have the key to that room. You have the key to all the rooms. But don't go in that one room. And he goes off. I don't know if I think he's a pirate. But he goes off. It
sounds like a pirate.
Yeah, he goes off and does his thing. And she, of course, goes to that room. And,
as you would.
Yeah. And sure enough, it's the corpses of all his other wives, because apparently the man
has a habit.
Hates some ladies. Yeah, he's got a habit. I like the way you're like, it's not his fault. He has a habit. It's an addiction. It's like heroin. He really needs treatment. If we could just understand him better.
If Snow White would pay for town therapy.
Really? At least for Bluebeard. That dude's...
for fucking Prince Charming.
Yeah, so and him too, right? So... Bluebeard is a likely suspect because him and Rose Red were seen as an item at one time, and he's got a thing about murdering people who he is an item with. And he's like, no, only do that if I married people. And also, when everyone escaped from Fantasyland, we got amnesty for all our past crimes, and I haven't murdered a woman since, so I don't even know why we're talking about this.
It's irrelevant that I have a habit of murdering my wife.
Yeah. That's just a weird coincidence. Is it hot in here? It seems so hot in here. So then we go, I am the Eggman Diner. Cuckoo Cuckoo. Nice Beatles reference. Also, Walrus and the Carpenter. Snow White is talking with Prince Charming because he asked to meet her. And he's like, so I have this plan because... Basically what happened was Prince Charming burned he was in Europe just fucking gadflying around, and eventually he made probably too many enemies. He slept with too many wives of too many powerful husbands and borrowed too much money that he couldn't pay back. So he had to flee back to America.
Look, Prince Charming is a con man.
Tail between his I'm sure well-toned legs. So he comes back to Snow White and is like, hey, I got a way to get money. And Snow White's like, I don't even see why you're talking to me about this. I could not care less.
These are your problems,
I caught you with my sister, by the way, the Rose Red, who is missing.
I swear to God.
Yeah. So, we are no longer an item. And
this is not my problem.
Yeah, this is not my problem. He's like, well, my plan is to sell my estates back in, Fairyland. And she's like, in Fantasyland, you mean... that place where none of us can ever go back to? Why would anyone buy your title and your land in a place? And he's like, but we're coming up, like every year they have a celebration for those that died when they fled. And
it's a remembrance, basically.
A remembrance. And during that time, everyone gets real nostalgic and starts thinking, you know what, maybe we could go back and fight our way back and get... And he's like, if I take advantage of that goodwill, that's the time to sell. I can sell while stocks are high and take my money and go. And she's like, well, that's great information. I'm leaving. Oh, by the way, Big B's going to want to talk to you because you're a suspect of Rose Red's murder.
I'm just now remembering that you should also be someone that we chat to. If I get lucky, maybe we can also throw you in a jail cell.
Yeah, like Big B likes to turn into a wolf and attack people. I got my fingers crossed that he'll just gut you. He'll gore you, and that'll be the end of this. I won't even try him. I'll say it was self-defense. I hate you so much, Prince Charming. When Snow White, with good reason.
Yeah.
So then we go to where Big B is questioning Jack, and they're talking about him and Rose Red have been together for 4 years, and Big B's like, well, not 4 years straight, because you guys had a very public fight that I almost had to intervene in.
Yep.
And then she's been seen on the arm of Bluebeard. And he's like, oh, she just did that to make me jealous. Like, that's it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not important. And Snow White starts crying, and she's like, just tell me, why'd you kill my sister? What'd you do with the body? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, lady, I didn't do nothing. I'm innocent over here. Why are you not questioning Bluebeard? You want to talk about fucking alibi? He's obviously upset that she left him to get back with me, and he murdered her. It's fucking open and shut case. Go solve it.
Yeah.
So Big B's like, you know what? I probably should question that guy. They get some chocolate. You also get a fun little scene of the pig running by. Like,
the pig might be the only likable character in
this. He's the closest to likable that we get. They go back, and now they're going to go question Bluebeard, who has a TARDIS of an apartment. Outside it's just a little apartment. Inside it's a huge place. He's like, and Bigby's talking. Oh, I get it. Now he's got himself another one of those magical big spaces within a smaller space, like your office. How did he pull this off? And Snow White says he was one of the fortunate ones to get out of the homeland with his riches. And his whole bloody castle, too. Rumor has it that he ran his own underground railroad and smuggled other fables out of the homelands, even after the adversary armies had moved in. But he charged a dear price for his services. So he was smuggling people out of the Fable land and taking all of everything they had in return. So, kind of a shitty dude. If the murdering all his wives thing didn't have you on the side that he was a jerk, maybe this will convince you. So they come in and he's all charming. Oh, here's another thing that's important. He is also pretty much solely responsible for keeping this little community running because they don't collect taxes. They only get donations. And the one who donates the most is, of course, Bluebeard, because he's got everyone's money. So why not? So it's kind of a tricky situation because you can't get too heavy-handed with him, you would think, because then he's like, oh, I'm just going to stop giving money and watch this whole community fall apart.
Yeah. You will all die without me.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you...
Maybe you shouldn't let one person have this much power.
Oh, come on.
I'm going to throw that out there.
What's the worst that could happen if you let someone have that much power?
Well, let's read on and see. One neat little thing is behind Bluebeard, he's got Captain Hook's hook in a little glass case. So apparently one of his high seas escapades, he did battle and defeated the old Captain Hook, which is fun.
Aww.
But Big B, who has no tact, comes straight in and says, oh, just got one quick question. Why'd you kill Rose Red, huh?
I did immediately wonder what the bad blood between Big B and Bluebeard was, because he does come in just like, hey, bitch, I know you did it. Why'd you do it? And
honestly, I think this is a income level thing. I think like Bluebeard looks down on him because he's a smelly, poor wolf. And Big B looks down on Bluebeard because he's a fucking like a high socialite. And I think the main problem is they both were kind of the same pre-escape. So everyone was supposed to have been forgiven when they crossed over. But I feel like Big Bad Wolf, Big B is still getting shit for stuff he did. But because Bluebeard is rich, everyone just ignores the fact that he murdered like a bunch of his wives. Like, think of all the, the celebrities that, do horrible
that's
shit.
A good point.
And then can just get away with it. Yeah. So I think that's where Big B's coming from, but it is not explicitly stated.
Classism would be an interesting, and that would put his whole interaction with Snow White at the end in a different kind of light, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But, yeah, Bluebeard drops a bombshell that he was meant to marry Rose Red.
Yeah, there was something here where they were talking about Rose, like, sleeping with people or whatever, and my first reaction was, don't slut shame Rose Red.
Oh, yeah, fucking Big B says something about, like, you killed her because she slept with you for a while before she slutted her way back to Jack or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm like,
and I did. My first reaction was,
I'm going to go ahead and say this, and Bill, feel free to call into the show if you want to fight me on it. I think Big B is supposed to be Bill Willingham. I think that is his representative in this universe. Character. Yeah, I think so. Like, his viewpoints seem to come out of Big B's mouth a lot, and Big B's the guy we're supposed to take what he says as like the truth, or at least like he's got the right of it. He's the good guy, which
he's not.
He's not. He's absolutely fucking not. And I think this is Bill doing some straight up.
So I did write, don't slut shame Red Rose, but she did also sleep with Prince Charming, so maybe shame her a little bit.
Again,
don't sleep with
I
your
really
sisters.
need to know if Prince Charming has a magical charm or not, because that has a lot to do with like how guilty these women are of enabling a sleazeball. Like, yeah. I need to know.
No, I hadn't considered that.
I haven't until you brought it up. I just assumed like he was really good looking and like had a twinkle in his eyes that people fell for, but he may literally have a magical charm.
No, and that would make sense because nothing else checks out.
Yeah.
He's not charming.
No.
He's okay looking, I guess, but like...
Yeah. This is one of those things where you have to assume he's good looking because everyone tells you he is, not because he's drawn good looking. But
I feel like if you want me to think he's good looking, you actually have to draw him good.
Honestly, I think Bluebeard's better looking than he is. But that's
he's
just
bald.
my opinion. Oh, I see. Okay. I don't have anything against bald people.
It's gross. Buy a wig.
Fair enough. Sorry, Bluebeard. No chance with Cecilia. Go back to your pirate house or whatever. But yeah, he mentions me and Rose Red were going to be married. I gave her a huge dowry. And she said, we will announce in a year. And until then, keep it under wraps. And I was like, she's a hottie, so I'll do what she says. And also, I'm rich. What do I have to lose? So he's like, I actually demand satisfaction. Like, if someone went and killed my fiance, I'm giving $1 million award out to anyone who can solve this mystery because you're a stupid wolf and you can't. That's pretty much what he said.
Boil it down.
Yeah. We move into chapter 3, Blood Tales. Now, this is where Bigby has got Little Boy Blue, and this, I believe, is the Frog Prince, the janitor, because they keep calling him Fly Eater.
Oh.
And I think it's because he used to be a frog and someone kissed him and turned him into a human. That is my prediction, because they keep calling him Fly Eater and Fly Boy, and he's like, God, you eat a couple flies in your youth, and people never let you forget it. I think this is the Frog Prince. That is my guess. But Little Boy Blue and this Frog Boy are going to recreate the crime scene. Bigby's got some blood. Don't ask where he got it. None of your concern. And
that is suspicious now that you mention it. I didn't clock.
He's got a refrigerator, ice cooler just full of blood packs that came from a place. Don't ask the big bad wolf where his blood comes from.
I have questions now.
Yeah. He's like, all right, boys, make a mess. So they're going to recreate the crime scene in an apartment with an identical floor plan upstairs.
Just basically room up.
Yeah, just spray the blood out and see how much it would take to recreate this crime scene. I'm like, well, that's a unique way to find out how much blood's... I feel like there's got to be a math way to do that. I mean,
probably.
Like, if this much blood can fit here. But Bigby, he was not a detective in the old world, and so he's kind of winging it here.
Well, I mean, if you don't have
clever
information, this is a good way to get information.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we go to the top floor of this this building where there's just a mansion with a pool and a hot tub. And old King Cole, who is... And when I said, like, remember in the poem I say he calls for his pipe? There's a whole, like, rack of pipes here on the shelf.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, little nods to his lineage. And he called for his fiddlers 3. See, the chairs with 3 fiddles. Okay. It's all starting to make sense now. Yeah.
See, those only work if you know what he is.
Oh yeah, they're Easter eggs.
Yeah.
And, if you don't know,
I was just like, this is an interesting apartment, and this dude has too many pipes.
It's like, what's this dude? So many pipes, so many violins.
We got a lot of smoking. We got a lot of smoking happening in this
King royalty,
comic.
and he still refers to them as fiddles, like a country bumpkin. Like, I don't get it. But anyway, he's basically saying, we need to wrap this case up before the big celebration.
Yeah,
otherwise
I wrote down
it'll make
here,
people sad.
King Cole's like, I know your sis was murdered, but we need to wrap this up because I need money.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah. Also, stop yelling at Bluebeard, because he's one of the people I need money from. And Snow White kind of retells the tale for people who don't know that Bluebeard likes killing his ladies. And maybe that makes him a suspect.
Maybe we should keep that in mind when you're telling me to look the other way, Dan.
Right? So they went by to see the Black Forest Witch to make sure she wasn't eating people again. This is the lady with the house made of gingerbread who used to invite children in and munch on them.
Yeah.
And apparently survived her getting dunked in the fire by Hansel and Gretel. So good on her for that, I guess.
I did have kind of... I'm thinking about it for half a second. I am kind of curious as to how Fabletown worked. Like, I know that for people who read the stories, you basically reread it and the same stuff happens every time. how long did Fabletown exist? And
they all talk about hundreds and thousands of years. Like at the very beginning.
So did the same thing just happen over and over again?
At the very beginning, Beauty and the Beast are talking about how like hard it is to have been married for hundreds of years, and like, yeah, get that.
Well, but I wonder, before the adversaries came, how...
I assume that... Here's what I think. You know that stupid right meme about, like, hard times make hard men make good times make soft men make bad times. I think they were in the good times part of the story. Like, they'd all got their happy endings. Like, the stories had resolved in whatever way. And they had 100 or 200 years of prosperity. And everything was going good, and that's why they were able to ignore that the land of the Lion King over here was being attacked by...
Oh yeah, Lion Witch of the Wardrobes over here.
Yeah, they mentioned that along with Wizard of Oz.
Murdered.
And they were like, oh, those guys are kind of religious fanatics, which is very funny since obviously the Lion, the Witch, and Wardrobe is a metaphor for Christianity. I was like,
a thing I did not clock as a child, by the way.
Oh, I did not either. Yeah, not till I was older. That was cleverly hidden, at least to my 11-year-old eyes.
Facts.
Yeah. But Big B questions her and asks if she's gotten a taste for her old habits and gotten tired of gingerbread. Then he goes and gives Prince Charming the old 1-2, questions him.
And as you should, though.
Yes, absolutely. And questions Snow White as well. And there's a little scene of them fleeing. And it made me very sad because it kind of looks like the one pig is the only one that got away.
Aww.
So I think the straw pig, his wooden brick pig, none of them had names except their houses. So brick and wood pig, I think, died. And I think straw pig is all by himself now. Aww. And that's kind of a bummer.
That is a bummer.
I found that way more touching than I should have. Because there's a scene
Well, again, the pig is probably the only character that's likable. And chances are that's only because we don't spend enough time with him to realize what a jackass he is.
Fair enough. But yeah, there's a scene where like one of the pigs has an arrow in it and the other one's like cradling him, and I'm like, I'm actually really sad for these pigs.
No bacon for breakfast today.
Yeah, the heart breaks. So, yeah, basically he says, get this cleared up and stop fucking with Bluebeard because he's rich and I need him. And she's like, yeah, anything you say, boss. Because again, Snow White's got to do all the fucking work. King Cole's just there to live in the nicest house. That's his job.
Like the true CEO of a corporation.
Right? Yeah.
He doesn't actually do shit.
The man at the top works 30 hours a day doing laps in his wading pool or whatever.
Look.
And then Bluebeard, who, once again, more proof that he is above the law. He has a troll servant who does not have to go live upstate, who just lives in his house.
Well, he's got that giant floor. He could probably... Honestly, now that you mention it like that, though, it is kind of fucked up that they don't have a place inside one of the floors for the...
Well, I mean, honestly, if you had arrested Bluebeard, you could have seized all his money, and then you could have let anyone that wanted to not live upstate could live in this room as long as they didn't leave, and it's the size of a castle. But yeah, the rule is if you can't pass for human, you have to go live upstate, but... Bluebeard has a troll servant who definitely can't pass as human. But I guess Bluebeard can afford a glamour for him when he goes outside or something. But yes, Bluebeard's going hunting. We do not know what for.
The most dangerous game.
The most dangerous game. Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk fame. The most dangerous game. Meanwhile, Big B's bringing computers to Snow White because he doesn't know how to computer. And she does, so he drops a bunch of work on her desk. Oh, and there's a flying monkey in here, too. So apparently Snow White can also ignore the rules because she's also rich. She also has a room much bigger than it should be. That's how you can tell wealth in this community is when they got that big house.
When they got that big house and when they have people who are basically slaves who can't pass for human and can't go anywhere or do anything.
And meanwhile, the Boy Blue and the Frog Prince have finished their decorating job, and they are now counting up the packets of blood. We will find out in a minute. So I like that the night watchman is Rip Van Winkle, and he's always fucking asleep. Like, what a great watchman you have. What a good choice for that job. Like, you could have picked anyone else.
Anyone else, yeah. Although, I guess to be fair, how much of a problem do they really have with, like, the mundanes coming in and messing with stuff?
I assume there's, like, a glamour on the whole building that keeps them from having to pay taxes on it and keeps people from knowing it's there or whatever. Kind of like Doctor Strange's house in... Because his house in New York City is, like, hidden as well.
Yeah, like, yeah. So that's the little temple thingy.
The Sanctatorium. Yeah, there you go. Whatever it's called. Man, we're good comic experts. We know comic knowledge. Yeah, that place.
I've never
been there. I'll say it. So Bigby's bringing lunch to Jack, and Rip Van Winkle's like, you're bringing him more lunch? Because you just sent Bluebeard down with some lunch. He's like, no, I didn't. Oh, my God. So this is another scene I actually really like, is he's running down the steps. And as he's doing it, you see him changing into the wolf, which is very cool.
Yeah.
And Bluebeard's got a knife to Jack's throat. And he's like, I'm just going to cut little pieces off of you till you tell me where Rose Red is.
I wrote here, Bluebeard here to torture a confession out of Jack like he works for the U.S. government.
The man's like, after I lost my job with ICE, I came here.
I did a stint at Guantanamo, and now
that's where I learned this trick.
Yeah, and now I'm here to.
You wouldn't believe how much information you get.
I'm here
out
to
of
bring
torture.
some mundane ways.
Now, most of it's not correct, but you get a ton of information.
All I need is for him to say that he did it, so that I can kill him.
Yeah, exactly. And Bigby comes in, and we think we're going to get a badass fight between Bluebeard and Bigby. I'm a little sad we don't here.
We do not.
I know you're not a huge fan of the fight scenes, but I would have liked to have seen these two tear holes in each other.
I would have been fine with them.
Yeah, it would have been no loss for me.
No one was likable in this story. I would have been fine with either one of them.
Whoever dies, we win.
Yeah. This is not a loss.
Yes, but Bluebeard is kind of, in my eyes, he's sort of proven his innocence here, because he straight up, like, came down here to get the truth out of Jack, and he knows that this is putting him in a...
He's just mad that someone else might have murdered his to-be wife.
Absolutely. He's already paid for her. That is like if I bought a TV set and it arrived broken. Like, who broke my TV? I will kill for answers. This is Bluebeard. He sees her as property of his that has been misplaced.
Yep.
And Jack...
Someone stole his shit, and he takes it very personally.
Yeah. And Jack is he's already got a few cuts on him, so Bluebeard's already been questioning. It's interesting because Bluebeard says, "Do you imagine you'd be the first of your kind I've had to kill? I've kept my land free of such vermin for centuries." He's talking about werewolves, but as a rich aristocrat, he could be talking about any person who's not the right religion and or color and or income. And Bigby says, always from the safety of a lance distance, I'd bet, with plenty of armed men around you to keep you out of any real danger. Let's see how you do this time with only one thin tooth to help you. He's talking about the little knife that Bluebeard has. So that's a good line. I like that line.
It is funny.
But the cavalry is on the way. Rip Van Winkle, a flying monkey with a fucking mace, a huge-ass troll, and Snow White wielding the Vorpal sword from the Jabberwocky poem from Alice in Wonderland.
She talks a little bit later about that sword, and I need her to make that sword into a table knife. I want to carry it around.
Yeah, the Vorpal blade from the Jabberwocky poem from... Is it Alice in Wonderland or Through the Looking Glass? I think it's Through the Looking Glass. Anyway, sure. That was used to kill the Jabberwock, my son. But they get there too late. Bigby's already arrested Bluebeard and released Jack. Because apparently they only have one cell. Well, I can't have two prisoners, only have one cell.
Here's the thing. You could have locked Jack in there with Bluebeard and let this problem sort itself out. I don't understand why we didn't do that.
Yeah, or you could have fucking filmed it and sold tickets, but... Instead, Jack is released, and Bigby tells Snow White that he wants that for the case he needs her to be his date at this celebratory ball that they're having in a few days. because it's all part of his plan. He's got most of it figured out. He's going to do the grand reveal on the big day. And she's like, ugh, I guess, if we have to.
I did write down here, because the poor little piggy is sleeping on the table.
In the field outside.
That pig really hates that fucking farm. He would rather sleep out in the middle of nowhere than go back to that farm. That farm cannot be a good place to be.
Yeah. Well, you do get a couple pages of it. And I think Volume 2 is all about the farm. And an uprising that they plan at the farm because they're sick of living upstate.
Aptly named Animal Farm.
Yeah.
The book.
Like the book that Bill Willingham probably read but does not understand.
Ooh.
Yes, I went there.
I'm not going to argue. I agree with you.
Yeah. So Big B's telling Blue and the Frog Prince, like, okay, you did great. Thanks for letting me know how much blood. Which he tells Snow White. He's like, it's too much blood loss. I don't.
Your sister's probably
Your
dead.
sister might be dead, yeah. Yeah, I think he says probably. I don't think he says might.
No, he's pretty, because she's
again,
mad
he's
at
very
him about
blunt.
it later.
Yeah. So he tells Jack and Frog Prince to clean up the mess in both apartments.
Both apartments need to be cleaned, and now y'all doing that. Thanks.
Yeah. And he does say a line I really like. Yeah, he says, well, my heart bleeds for you, You know what they say, the only easy day was yesterday. I'm like, that's a good line.
Yeah, I did like that.
I clocked that line. That's a very good one.
Only easy day is yesterday.
God damn, he's right. Yeah, and then he tells Snow White that there's no hope that she's alive. So we go to Chapter 4, Remembrance Day.
If he wasn't just fucking with her to see what she'd do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he says later that he was pretty sure she wasn't dead at that point, but he wasn't sure if Snow White was still a suspect or not. So he was like, the less Snow White knows, the better, in case she's guilty of shenanigans here. So yeah, we go to Chapter 4, Remembrance Day, and I will say this, the Beast of Beauty and the Beast is looking good.
I did write down here, though, I liked him better when he couldn't really talk.
Yeah, he's
back to human.
Yeah, he's back to human. They're getting along because they're both excited about Remembrance Day. It's in the words of them, it's the grandest event of the year, like Christmas and 4th of July, multiplied many times over. Like, okay, I get it. Fables have better lives than the mundanes. It's kind of like Harry Potter. Like, you don't have to fucking rub it into me. I know I'm a muggle. Like, you don't have to just every fucking day be like,
muggles.
They also have this party, and it's like 20 times better than your best party, just so you know. It's like, just shut up, Bill. Get out my fucking case.
All I'm really understanding here is that they need more parties. Yeah, that's all I'm really gathering.
Honestly, when he says it's that much better and I actually see the party, I'm like, it doesn't look that much better.
They have enough time to get really excited about a raffle for some lands that nobody will ever get to have.
Yes,
so it doesn't seem like that great of a party, my man.
Beauty is talking to Beast about how she wants to buy a bunch of lottery tickets, and he's like, why? And she's like, well, all the lands we have back there are your lands. I want my own lands. And he's like, we can't get there. I can't afford this. And so, like, he's going to have fangs again by the end of the night is my prediction.
Especially because they fight over money, and this bitch is spending it like she got it, and she don't.
Yeah. Honestly, it would be better if they both grew fangs. I honestly don't need to hear either of them talk, to be perfectly fair. Prince Charming and Snow White are talking. He's thanking her because she set up this lottery so that he could sell his deed and his land. That's what people are buying lottery tickets for. Prince Charming's plan has gone through. Snow White has done this because Bigby told her to. Mm-hmm. He's like, this is also part of my plan. My plan has 1,000 facets. So many plans. Big
Bad is a plotter.
Yeah. And he tells her, basically he starts hitting on her. He's like, oh, you're actually looking very nice tonight. Blah, blah, blah.
I really hate him.
She says, oh, pardon me, but you've suddenly grown wearisome and pedestrian. I imagine that will only grow worse after tonight. Do try to have a pleasant final evening as a former somebody before you officially become just another nobody. And I was like, yeah, get him, Snow White. Sick him.
Yeah, it would be better if it didn't reek of classism. But...
Oh, they're all, like, they're from Fable World. It's all classism there. The entire goal of 90% of Fables is if only I can be a prince or a princess. I just have to get up to that echelon. I just gotta climb up that tower and kiss that lady, and then I get to be a princess. Or I just have to, get to the ball in my glass slipper, and then I can marry a prince. Like, all of the fables from this medieval, like, section that Bill Watterson's taking all his fables from, that is the fucking goal, is being nobility. And so it's not surprising that, like, even though everyone it's actually, I don't think Bill meant to be this clever, but it's actually very telling that people are simultaneously like, this is worth fucking nothing, and they're all still buying tickets for it. It's a title that means nothing that everyone still wants.
That is a little on the nose,
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. He probably didn't mean to be that clever, but it is a little on the nose.
He meant to do he even said it, the whole lottery tickets are just fucking the opium of idiots, or, whatever the lottery or taxes on stupid people. Mm. Yeah, that was his great take.
I didn't notice it because I didn't think it was that great of a take.
No, it's not. Mine was better.
Yeah.
Bill, let me interpret your work because you're bad at it.
He doesn't understand fairy tales.
Yeah, King Cole is telling the story of their kingdom and how it was taken from them. There's a really cool full-page panel of the invasion happening. And it's neat because if you close in, you get to see, like, Ichabod Crane, the Swan Knight, the Tin Man, Baba Yaga in her chicken hut.
I fucking love Baba Yaga.
She's such a neat character.
There's a really
she's so fun.
There's a really cool episode of cool people who did cool stuff where Margaret goes on a tangent about Halloween stories and stuff, and Baba Yaga is one of the things that she covers quite extensively.
Oh, that's fun.
It was so cool.
I love Baba Yaga. She's one of my favorite, like... Actually, you know what? I'm going to say it. She's my favorite witch of Fable. She's my favorite Fable witch.
That's sweet.
She has a house with chicken legs. What's not to like?
I agree.
Robin Hood, Maid Marian. Like, it's a lot of cool shots of people escaping. You see these little fairies and gnomes and a couple of the 7 dwarves. The tortoise and the hare. Like, yeah. It's really a find 'em. Even the fucking... grasshopper.
So where's Waldo?
It's a Where's Waldo of fiction.
Fairy tale stories,
and it's fun. So they're escaping, and they talk about. This is where they mention.
Is this where they literally say, "So far away, not our problem"?
When the Emerald Kingdom fell, we tisk-tisked and tut-tutted in our homes, sad for the fates of those unfortunate souls, but we weren't tempted to intervene. Then the kingdom of the great lion fell, and again we did nothing, because we always found the old lion to be a bit too pompous and holier than thou for our taste. I'll give you that one, Bill. That was good. And one by one our scattered lands fell under the adversary's domain, swallowed up into an ever-growing empire. Had we banded together early, we might have been able to stop him, but by the time we realized that wasn't merely an interest in conquering that land of those people, that he was coming after all of us, it was too late. So once we realized we were in jeopardy,
I literally wrote in quotation, "So far away, not our problem." I think I just had a trauma reaction.
Yes.
That line is in there somewhere because I quoted it, and it
Yeah, the great adversary, Adolf Hitler. I feel it's like, I don't think it's our problem. It seems to only be bothering the Jews.
Yeah. I think Poland's got an issue, but that's a Poland issue.
I feel bad for Poland. I'm tusking Hitler. I tell you what.
Yeah. He really cares that you're tusking.
I am actually in the next election. I'm only going to vote in politicians who also tusk him. That is me making a difference.
Ouch.
Yeah. Long story short, Cole tells the story of how they had to escape and how tonight we drink to the homelands and to those we left behind and to one day getting our lands back, etc., etc. And it's interesting because they do little shots of like different people in different places. Like this one, we have Alice in Wonderland and the White Rabbit sharing a drink out in a copse of woods. You have all the rats, I'm guessing the 3 blind mice and the ones that helped Cinderella make her dress, and so on and so forth. And then we see a little shot of the upstate farm with some trolls and werewolves and boglins and all sorts of weirdos. Everybody tonight is having a party. Wherever you are, if you're a fable creature, you're having a good time. Now we come to Pinocchio, and I
wrote down here real quick that Pinocchio is Prince Charming's son. Either that, or these dumbasses only know how to draw one face, because he looks so much like Charming that I was taken aback for a minute.
What I wrote about this is, so the whole idea is, I believe it's either Cinderella or Beauty from Beauty and the Beast. Sits down next to Pinocchio, asking if he's having a good time. He's like, no, I'm not. And basically, long story short, is the Blue Fairy wanted to make him a real boy. He asked to be made a real boy. But it's 400 years later, and he's still a boy. And he's mad because he
can't have
gone
sex.
through puberty and he can't have sex and blah, blah, blah. And I was this is where I'd had enough. I was like, oh my God, I get it. What if Fable creature, but edgelord? Like, it's the same fucking trick. And it loses power every time you tell it. The first time when, like, Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk says a cuss word, you're like, whoa! But by this point, it's Pinocchio. He's like, he's a little kid, but look at him. He's all randy and stuff. I'm like, oh my God. Like, you've been doing this trick over every single Fable person. You're like, yeah, but what if they were an asshole? And I'm like, by this point, the trick is so tired that I could have skipped this entire fucking 2 pages.
It adds nothing.
It adds nothing.
And to draw a distinction between something being well written and something being just an edgelord trick, there is a character in one of the Batman animated series who's a little girl who gets to never grow up. And that is so fucking heartbreaking.
Oh, when she's in the Hall of Mirrors and she sees herself as a girl. That's wonderful.
It broke my fucking heart. This did nothing for me.
Because he's a petulant asshole.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, so at some point, Bill was like, I'm 1 page short on this issue. Wait, what if I introduce another asshole?
The thing is, you can do this. You can make it heart-wrenching that a person is aware of the fact that they're not growing.
Yeah.
And that there are goals and things that they wanted that they can't have.
Yeah.
You can do that well. It has been done well. Yeah. This is not doing it well.
Well, this is like, see that Blue Fairy? I'm going to kick your ass. Like, oh, God, shut up. Shut up.
You were a fucking wooden doll.
You whiny little baby.
Go sit on a pyre.
You could tell lies without your nose growing. Fucking be grateful.
I did not. Pinocchio is Prince Charming's son.
That whole page was it.
That whole panel was
like
necessary.
In both demeanor and facial expression.
Yeah.
Like, he looks like him, and he also acts like him.
Yeah.
He also has the same hair as him. Yeah, I think the Blue Fairy, which would make sense because Prince Charming gets around, so Blue Fairy might have instilled Pinocchio with a little life from the one night stand she had the night before, and here we are. Big B is going to release Bluebeard and Jack and give them all little errands. And he's like, the 3 of us are all going to the party, and we all have jobs to do. So he sends them all out with their separate little things. We cut to the kitchen where our cute little pig is stealing a carrot. And one of the chefs like, wait, are you on the menu? He's like, oh gosh, I sure hope not.
Again, the pig is the only likable character.
The pig is very likable. Big B and Snow White, we do the whole tired, he tries to dance, but he can't scene. That's another 3 pages.
I also wrote down here that Prince Charming can't stand not being the center of Snow's attention, because the moment he notices that she's dancing with Big B, he suddenly cares a whole lot about what she's doing.
And also with some classism. Like, he also get that, oh my, is he your date, princess? You poor girl. Like, so also, once again, Big B is kind of... And I think maybe one of the reasons is because the wolf is an enemy in so many different stories. So he's made a lot of enemies. Like he's eating Little Red Riding Hood over here. He's blowing down pig houses over here.
Is it the same wolf?
Yes. Well, in this version it is.
Okay.
Because in Volume 2 they will mention Little Red Riding Hood and him will... but same wolf. Every wolf problem that anyone's had is this fucking guy. Which I guess is why so many people have bad blood with him. And Snow White's like, well, you came too late for us to get the good food, but I know the caterers usually lock up a little bit of the best stuff in the back for themselves. And Bigby does the eureka moment, and he's like, that's the clue I needed. You solved the case. She's like, what do you mean? And he's like, tell everyone to come up to the Nat King Cole's rooftop terrace, and I'll explain everything. Which I think he just did because he wanted to swim. And the next scene, he's just swimming in the pool. And I'm like, okay. You just came up here because you wanted to swim. You're like, look, I can solve this case anywhere, but I need to do a few laps. I'm getting some love handles. I'm going to go take a swim. And sure enough, he does. And everyone gathers together. And we do our moment of putting all the clues together. You've seen it in every detective thing.
I did write down here, my money's on the fact that she just didn't want to marry Bluebeard.
You put it at this point? This is where you...
Yeah, because I wrote it, because he...
Nicely done.
Yeah.
You know, because that is the reveal. He reveals that this was all a scam, and Rose Red never died. She is still here at the party. And a wig is ripped off of one of our guests, and it is, in fact, yes, Rose Red.
You know, I really don't understand what she thought she was going to accomplish. I have not seen anything that would establish that anything happens to the people in this town outside of, like, what their stories entailed. So, a new person in Fableland on the night of the remembrance is suspicious as fuck, dumbass. Like, there are no new people here. No one seems to be born.
Before the wig was taken off, she kind of looked like Cher. And I bet Cher gets invited to these things. I bet... Here, if I were to name artists who I think get invited to these, I bet Cher gets an invite.
Definitely.
Bjork probably gets invited.
Yeah.
There's probably a few, maybe the Decemberists.
David Bowie
when he was alive would have definitely got an invite. So they may have just thought it was Cher.
I don't understand what she thought she was going to accomplish.
Well, Bibby straight up says that her and Jack are idiots, and this is a poorly conceived plan. So... maybe nothing. Maybe she did not think that far ahead. It seems likely, considering she does give off this aura of someone who makes rash decisions and is very flighty. And sure enough, Bigby does his big reveal. They do the what do they call it? He says it twice. Oh, the parlor room scene, the famous scene where everyone gathers and he explains what happened. So, the story is that Jack did some bad computer investing. Jack's always looking for the next get-rich-quick scheme, which makes perfect sense from his story.
The American dream.
Yeah, from his story, it makes perfect sense.
This is also true.
Yeah, and him and his lady fair, Rose Red, he asked her to borrow some money, and she's like, well, I have a plan. She goes and does this thing where she tells Bluebeard, hey, give me a bunch of money and in a year I'll marry you. Let's keep it under wraps. Which he does. She gives that money to Jack, who immediately loses it in the .com crash. And they're like...
bubbles burst.
Bubbles do burst. Although it's funny because Bigby keeps saying that like by the time he had invested, it had already burst. He always tries to jump on the bandwagon well after it's left town. Like he's bad at this. If you were good at get-rich schemes, you would only need one. Because you would do it, and then you would be rich. Everyone who does multiple get-rich schemes are bad at them.
Facts.
Yes. So, Jack's like, oh, honey, sorry I accidentally got you engaged to a dude who kills his wife on their wedding night. Oops. We need to get out of this. So they decide to plan her death so she can hide out. And she was saying, just till I figure out how to get the money. Because they figure if they pay him back, pay the dowry back, they can cancel the engagement. Or it's just, why? Why would you give Jack money? Fools in love. But sure enough, she actually, this was fun. She was taking blood out of herself and storing it in the freezer over months so they could have enough to make it
very Gone Girl.
Like she dead. Yeah, right?
Very Gone Girl.
And they put a lock on it because apparently this whole time they were doing this, they weren't going to stop having parties at their place. So they had to put a lock on the freezer so nobody stumbled upon all this blood and started asking questions. Because when you have a bunch of drunks at your party, your freezer is not safe. I don't believe the weird stuff you find in there after parties. But Bigby noticed that even though the room was disheveled, it was very neat. Like, there was a lamp overturned, but the bulb wasn't broken. All the CDs that were on the ground also weren't broken, and they'd been taken from, like, the back of this CD rack, the ones that no one ever listens to. Not the ones in front, because those are too valuable.
They did a real shit job at making it look like an actual thing had happened.
And the stereo system's completely clean. There's blood all around it on every side. She just didn't want to get her stereo bloody. Yeah, so Rose Red and Little Boy Blue were...
Jack.
I'm sorry, and Jack were just not... They were doing this the worst.
Well, and if you're gonna... They didn't want to commit to it, is the thing. She knew she wanted to come home, and when she comes home...
She wants her shit.
She wants her shit. Yeah. She wants her good stuff to still be there. We all want
our shit when we come home.
She wants her nice stuff to still look nice. She's not trying to, like, break her favorite CD.
No, God knows. They were expensive back when people used to pay for music. Like $20 for a CD. So, and half the time there's only one song on there you wanted. You had to buy 13 tracks for the one you actually liked. Thank God for LimeWire and Napster and all this other...
Napster, LimeWire.
Pirate Bay.
Back when you had to, like, sort of, like, pre-listen to something, and then when you downloaded everything, you'd have to, like, retitle it and go... I've spent so much time not doing that as a child.
Yeah. I'd click on 6 copies of the same song and hope that one of them was actually the song. Because the other 5 were Rickrolls or small porn clips. And I'm like, oh, God, I just want the song that I asked for.
Just give me the music.
And then I felt guilty about bitching because I was like, all the music in the entire world is now free to me and I'm still complaining. I will never be happy. That was my thought. And sure enough, it turned out to be fact.
Hey, look, you knew yourself. That's all that matters.
Yes, I will never be happy. But Jack said he had already looked for her, yet there weren't any footprints. So he hadn't been in the room because there was blood everywhere.
He didn't need to look for her because they already knew that he
knew exactly what the situation was. And Snow White's like, why did you not tell me the truth? And he's like, well, for a while, I thought she still might have been dead. I know that the scheme happened, but I don't know if she might have been murdered or kidnapped on top of that. Maybe her partner tried to betray her, or maybe someone else found out about the scheme and killed her. Bluebeard, I'm looking at you, Bluebeard.
Because I still fucking hate you.
Yeah, I still fucking hate you. So, it wraps up, and he's like, he basically tells everybody, hey, go home, we'll solve all this in the morning. Because Bluebeard's like, well, I still want my bride. You know, Prince Charming's like, hey, we auctioned off my land tonight, I want all that money. And Jack and Rose Red are like, hey, we don't think we should go to prison. We were in an unwinnable situation.
That we put ourselves in.
Yes, that we fucking did ourselves completely from start to finish. So Bigby and Snow White are like, yeah, everybody go to bed. We'll figure this out in the morning. We get another wonderful scene of our pig sleeping in Snow White's garden today. He's having a little nappy poo.
Again, pig. Only likable character.
Yeah, I love the pig. Who could be bad? All he does is sleep and eat. He's like the me of Fables world. He's completely harmless. He's just eating and sleeping. He ain't hurting nobody.
I bet he becomes the villain in the Animal Farm one. Because the pigs are the ones who...
And... hopefully not. I don't remember, actually. I think, actually, it's fucking Rose Red again. Because her and Jack are sent upstate to do community service. And I
don't know. I haven't read it.
I have read it, and I'm trying to remember.
I'm just thinking of Animal Farm, and the whole plot of Animal Farm is that the pigs
are the ones that end up... You can't tell them apart from the men, yeah.
And it would be likely, because this one pig is the only character that I have any sympathy for. And
of course, we got turned in villain.
Yeah, it would seem that he would
to allay your fears, I think it is actually Rose Red who does the rebellion, because she gets sent upstate for community service and decides...
Oh, goody, the pig gets to stay my favorite.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe we'll read it one day to tear.
We don't have to, though, right?
We don't have to, no. We can end this here. Snow White is talking to Bigby, and she's like, well, we've made a compromise, so that's good. No one will get what they want. Everyone will be unhappy.
You know, now that we have established who Bill is, the fact that everything goes back to the status quo at the end of this makes a lot more sense. Because I was very irritated.
Yeah. And also the idea that compromise is just spreading misery out amongst as many people as possible. Of course, someone like Bill would be against the idea of compromise. Like... So, of course, he puts it in the worst
no
possible
actual
light.
responsibility.
10% of what he of the money he made.
I wrote down here, always read the fine print.
And sends his ass packing. The rest of that money goes to Bluebeard to pay for basically Snow White's paying for her sister back. And he's like, all right, this marriage is annulled. Here's the money you invested back.
Is this where someone says something about the freedom of choice?
Maybe. What specifically are you saying?
Well, Snow White says something about we all have the freedom of choice, and I wrote down unless you're a woman or trans or a person of color or, you know the drill.
You still have the freedom of choice. You guys gotta pull yourself up by your bootstraps at that point.
And choose to be straight and cis.
To be straight, yeah.
And white.
It's that old chestnut of we all have the freedom to marry someone of the opposite sex.
Yep, that's the one.
So, Bluebeard is having a conniption because he doesn't want his money back. He wants that sexy lady. Yeah. And Snow White's like, well, you actually broke the contract because you weren't supposed to talk about the marriage for a year, and you did. He's like, yeah, because of police investigation, and I thought she was dead. And they're like, yeah, it doesn't say in the contract that there's exclusions for police investigations or when you thought she was dead.
Basically, those rules, we've been in them real hard for my sister.
Yeah.
Who slept with my husband. Why wouldn't you? Here's the thing.
Okay. Give me the thing, Cecilia. Hit me with the hot sauce.
I absolutely would have let Bluebeard have Red Rose. Fuck that bitch. She ain't done nothing but cause trouble.
She is a troublemaker.
And I mean, not to absolve Prince Charming of his very obvious role in this
takes
problem.
2 to tango,
it
so
does.
I've heard.
It does.
Which is weird, because I tango by myself more often than not. But supposedly it takes 2.
And the very first thing Prince Charming does when he gets caught sleeping with his wife's sister is blame her.
I think does he say she bewitched me?
Yeah, he fucking does. He fucking does.
The minx seduced me, is what he says.
Yeah. So also fuck him.
That's even funnier if he does have a glamour charm. Because it's like he is literally he seduced her. Yeah. He's like, she seduced me. I had no choice.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
Yeah. I would have absolutely let Bluebeard have Red Rose. Fuck that bitch. She ain't done nothing this whole time but cause problems.
There's still a little bit of sibling love here, apparently, because Snow White, all that money that obviously they could use for other things and to not be in Bluebeard's fucking debt all the time. Instead, they give it to Bluebeard to buy Red Rose's freedom. And Bigby basically says, you either take the money or I arrest you for trying to kill Jack while he was in custody. Your choice. And she says, unfortunately, that means your head goes the way of so many of your past wives' heads. Yeah. So Bluebeard, the last shot of Bluebeard you get is of him looking very mad at Bigby. So you feel like those two might still have some animosity with each other.
And here's the thing.
That might not be over.
Both of them are so unlikable that I can't even, want them to have hate sex or anything. Mm-hmm. I can't ship them. They're both awful, and I'm bored with both of them.
Yeah. Well, luckily, they won't. So, good news, I guess.
Well, I like my enemies to lovers tropes, but,
what about enemies to enemyers?
Even the hate sex would be boring.
Yeah. Yeah, sad but true. I am also not sure if you're talking about Bigby and Snow White or Bigby and Bluebeard.
Any and all.
Okay. Any of that three-way, I don't want to see any of it.
I don't want any of these characters. They've done nothing.
I don't want none of them to be happy.
To deserve a good grace. And
I really don't.
Outside of that pig, I'm really...
Yeah. So Snow White says, here's the deal, kids. You've got some community service. You're going to pay a fine, and you're going to... and you're not going to jail for the rest of your lives. You're fucking welcome. So we cut to the very end, and
everything goes back to exactly the way it was before.
How it was before anything started. Except Bigby confesses his feelings for Snow White.
It's always the mark of a good story when at the end of it, everything is reset back to the beginning.
That's more of a 20-minute cartoon. That's more of like or a sitcom, where the problem is solved in 22 minutes and, 5 issues, but still. Yeah, when it's all said and done,
an hour and a half.
Nothing has happened. Yeah.
An hour and a half we have talked about this comic, and at the end, the only difference is Bigby says he has a crush on Snow White.
And she says, I don't give a shit. Here's the thing. Once again, I'm trying to be fair to Bill. I liked this scene. I liked that because you expected something to kind of happen. But Bigby confesses and Snow White's like, no, not even a little bit. No, and no, never.
Here's the thing,
and I don't know if they continue it forever, but I know at least through Volume 2, this continues. Like, Snow White shows no interest in Bigby, and he continues to pine away for her. And I'm like, I hope that continues through this entire thing, because at least it's not the tired old trope of they eventually get together.
Well, and also, if
because
you
again,
liked
I don't want either of them to be happy.
Again, also true. But also, like, I feel like Snow White's been there, done that with dudes with ulterior motives for trying to, like... That's Prince Charming's whole shtick, my man, and she's done with him.
You might should have came at this from a different... I mean, he is very not like Prince Charming, but he also tried some of the same moves.
Yeah.
And that's probably a mistake.
Yeah. Maybe don't do that. Yeah. It's gross. If you wanted to dance with her, you could have just asked.
It's very funny, too, because she says it like 3 times. She's like... She said it was pathetic. And he's like, really? I was hoping for something more along the lines of oddly, disarmingly charming. She's like, well, it wasn't. Don't do it again. We're colleagues and nothing more. Fine. Seriously. Never again, Bigby. Back off, Bigby. He's like, okay, lady, I got the message.
And this is where I wrote down, did you notice that there was not a single non-white character in this story?
I did. I would have lost my intersectional leftist lens license if I had not. So, yes, I did.
Well, I mean, I'm proud of you, but also it's just, at this point, I was like, okay.
Yes.
We are just really, really snowflake colored.
We've picked a certain color of fable. You know, the white people fables.
Yeah.
So we have a short story, and I'm just going to very quickly say, it's basically the story of why Bigby fell in love with Snow White to begin with. And I don't feel like it really adds anything. It sort of explains why he's helping people escape Fableland, like why he joins the good guys instead of joining the adversary. And it sort of seems to boil down to Snow White. He had a crush on Snow White. So it kind of makes it more pathetic that, like, the whole reason you're in New York City, the whole reason you, like, are helping these people... Yeah, and the whole reason you're doing all this stuff is because you got the hots for Snow White. Very funny. So then we have one more little short... And you
waited 400 years to make a move.
400 fucking years.
Beautiful.
And this was a little 6-page short that appeared in 2009 in Peter and Max, a Fables novel. It is a little short that was in this other in this other thing. And it's basically about this bird that I do not know.
It's the raven.
Yeah, but this raven breathes fire on entire city. Are you a dragon raven? Like, I don't know. This raven shows up
Edgar Allan Poe's raven got a power up.
Yeah, right? Like a motherfucker. Some time in hell really did that bird good. Goes to Bo Peep, and I don't know if this is the Pied Piper or Peter Pumpkin Eater. This bird shows up to 2 characters. I know it's Little Bo Peep. The lady is Little Bo Peep.
Yes.
But I'm not quite sure who the guy is. And the bird is basically talking about there's a war against the Empire. I don't know if this is the same war as the war against
the adversary
or not. But the bird basically shows up and he's like, you two used to be like badass freelance mercenaries. It's basically that I want you back for one more job. And they're like, we kind of like not doing that.
We are done trying to die. Yeah. Can we not?
And the bird's like, look, I have assassin targets, and I will take them out by fireballing the whole village. You can actually get in and kill the one person. So, are you in? Are you out? And sure enough, he talks them both into it. They're like, this is a bad way to recruit people. And he's like, this is a bad way for the king to recruit people. He says, they aren't recruiting you. I am. They've no idea. I plan to bring you in, so I'm the only...
It's always great whenever there's a secret recruiting.
I'm the only bird stooping this low. I'll admit my motives are selfish. For every one of my missions you're able to complete, that's one less population center I have to wipe out. So these are the good guys, folks. These are our heroes. And yes,
Again, really hard to root for a single one of these motherfuckers.
Right? So we do get to see Sinbad. And weirdly enough, Prince Charming, a scene of him actually fighting the good fight, which, again, weird.
Maybe but I guess he just has PTSD.
Yeah,
maybe that's the reason why he's shitty.
Well, I mean, I think he was sleeping with... I think he cheated with Rose Red before they left Fabletown.
Really?
I think, yeah. Well, yeah, I think so. Because just the one scene of it looks like it's in an old castle. It doesn't look like it's in New York City. Not really sure. But Sinbad's like, "You're too badly injured, Prince Charming. Let me pull for a while." And he says, "No, Sinbad, forget it. You're the only one of us still fit to fight, so you guard while I pull." And you're, again, very fucking surprising to see Prince Charming doing anything selfless. But there it is. So if he ever does anything else like this, you might can call it character development or de-development, I guess, since in the past he was a better person than he is now. But you have to justify it. That has to go somewhere. Like, you can't just randomly...
No, it doesn't. We can just make him a jackass.
I guess, but I feel like if you just randomly have someone do a nice thing and everything else they do is shitty, like, what did that accomplish with your character development? Like, it just seems like an aberration of a bad behavior. Like, I don't know. For me, that seemed like a waste. Like, you needed to... If you're going to have Prince Charming do something selfless... I think we were just trying to
establish that we were pulling more into the world. I don't think that...
Yeah, but they could have had anyone helping out Sinbad. They could have had the Beast help out Sinbad. We don't know enough about him for that to seem so out of character, I want to claw my eyes out. Prince Charming, that's so out of character, I want to claw my eyes out. Yeah. But yes, it ends with basically the bird telling them they did a good job. And I don't know, the message of that story seems to be like, if you're in war with bad enough people, anything you fucking do is justified. Once again, Bill, thank you for your nuance and your great opinions, setting us stupid liberals straight. We appreciate it. And that is all of Fables, Legends in Exile. That has been the funnest harpooning since G.I. Joe, I think. That's been I had a good time. Honestly, I enjoy reading things and
yes. Being mean to them. I do.
I don't enjoy the reading part, but I enjoy the harpooning part. And like I said, the harpooning part's great. Unlike you, at least I like the detective story. So there was at least something in here that I was like, okay, this part's not so bad.
This is definitely one of those ones that I would have handed back to you if it weren't for this.
You would have read chapter 1.
I would have gotten to the point where Prince Charming was messing with Molly and been like,
Not for me.
No, I can't do this one. I'm gonna have to pass.
Yeah, fair enough.
I didn't... To me, the whole detective thing was very... Again, the conclusion was Rose Red did this shit to herself. And then the author worked backwards to set that up. Yeah. And it was just... I didn't like it.
That's fair. I honestly, like I said, if I had felt the way you felt about the detective story, there would have been nothing here. Except the 2 quotes I picked out of this, 300 pages. The 2 quotes I picked out and 2 panels that I was like, oh, that was kind of cool.
I like the shadow.
Yeah, I like the shadow, and I like the full page fleeing shot, and that was it.
Yeah.
The covers were confusing, and the rest of the art was not bad. It was just pedestrian. It was very just. It was like exactly what you needed to get the job done. There was nothing there that I was like, oh, what a unique take, or like, oh, I like this art style. It was comics 101. Like, it was just, here's how you draw this panel, and here we go. And the weird use of coloring in the gutters. As you stated, I don't get that. But in I guess in honor of this rather tepid book, I have a rather tepid big question for you.
All right, go for it.
When you were a child, what is the story you remember being read to you or told to you the most? You can also say nothing if your mom never read you anything. But
is this a story that like one that I picked out or one that someone else picked out?
Well, if it's the one, like, first of all, I guess I should start with a leader question. Did someone read you stories at bedtime?
For a little bit, yeah.
Okay. Did you pick those out? Like, did you have like a bookshelf and you're like, read me Green Eggs and Ham tonight, Mommy, or whatever? Or was it they would just grab one and read to you? I
don't remember.
Okay. Do you remember one of those stories sticking out? Or any story that you read in your... Now, this is pre-Harry Potter days. This is like when you were a small child.
So...
A fable of sorts that you read as a small child.
Let me just establish the fact that I have always been a tiny person fueled by spite, and inform you that I don't remember who picked out stories, but pre-Harry Potter, at whatever point my mother stopped reading stories to me, I stopped reading because I was not going to read if I had to do it myself.
You've come a long way, baby.
Oh, I really have, and that's thanks to Harry Potter and fuck J.K. Rowling. Yeah. But I don't remember...
Again, your least favorite person did something good.
Yeah. No, I don't remember because at some point, probably when I started kindergarten or whatever, my mother did stop reading to me, and there was a period of time where I would not pick up a book because she stopped reading to me.
Oh,
and
what a stubborn child you were. Thank God you got that stubborn streak out of you, huh?
I don't know where my children get it from.
No.
Anyways.
We'll never know.
It's a mystery for the ages. So I cannot 100% remember a lot of things about my childhood. It's the trauma. Yeah. But also, I don't remember. And there was a period of time prior to Harry Potter where I did not pick up books if I was not actively forced to, because mother stopped reading to me, and fuck you if you think I'm going to start reading to myself.
That's amazing. I went the exact opposite way. Like, my parents never read to me, but my grandparents would when I would stay over at their house sometimes. And the book, I remember from my childhood, I don't know if I've mentioned it ever to you before, but it was called Drummer Hoff Fired It Off. You ever heard of it? Okay.
No.
So it's this very short little book, and the art style, I'm going to show it to you when we're done here, because I actually have a copy of my bookshelf that my sister got for me, because she remembered how much I liked it. Yes, my lawyer sister that I mentioned at the beginning of this episode. Drummer Hoff Fired It Off was kind of like a weird paper decoupage art style. It almost looked like a stained glass window. And every page, there's this cannon. And every page, someone's doing something to get this cannon ready. And Sergeant Chowder applied the powder. And and it all rhymed. But Drummer Hoff fired it off. And they keep coming back to that. Drummer Hoff fired it off. And Drummer Hoff fired it off. So no matter what anyone else does, none of that matters. Because Drummer Hoff is the man that fired it. And I'm not sure I realized it at the time. But it did not take me long to realize that story is about how we assign blame. And how all these people had to set up this cannon to be fired. And what ends up happening is the cannon ends up blowing up. It ruins the cannon. And, Drummer Hoff gets blamed for it because he's the one that fired it off. But every other person
did something.
Sergeant Border gave the order, and all these other authority figures, none of them. And trouble. Drummer Hoff also, the lowest ranking of all these people.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I did not realize how much my future outlook on things was being influenced by this children's book. But yes, Drummer Hoff Fired It Off is the book I remember from my childhood.
If you want a story that was influential, when I was growing up, one of the books I picked up in the library back when accelerated reader was a thing and you had to answer questions.
Yeah.
One of those was the... Now, I did buy this book from my mother because it was one of the few little kids' books that I really liked. But the story, I can't remember exactly what it's called now, but the story is there's this little boy who gets a blanket.
Okay.
And he takes that blanket with him everywhere.
His
little
name
kids.
Is Linus, and there's the Great Pumpkin. It's got Charlie Brown in it. I've seen it.
No. I never actually did. I never did Charlie Brown.
Different story?
Yeah.
Okay. Another boy with a blanket.
It's another boy with a blanket. And I remember the blanket is a little white and it's like a blue blanket with little stars on it. Mm-hmm. And then the blanket gets tore up because the little boy takes it everywhere with him. And so it gets turned from a blanket into a handkerchief or something. And then it gets turned from a handkerchief into a tie, and from a tie into a button, and so until he loses the button. Yeah. And he's like, so there wasn't anything left of the little blanket except for enough to tell a good story.
Aww.
And that's the whole little little. And I used to check this out a lot when I was in school because it was a cute little story, and my mother liked it too. And I bought her that book at some point.
Aww.
I actually think I have it now, but yeah, that one was one.
That's a good, that's kind of what I was looking for, yeah. Yeah.
I will do all things through spite.
Yes.
So
honorable mention to The Little Prince, another story I was read many times as a child.
I was not read that one as a child.
Well, thank God, because I shouldn't have been. Like, Drummer Hoff, like, probably developed my, like, political worldview, and Little Prince developed my emotional instability. So I blame both of those books for the man I am today.
You know what? Fair enough.
Yeah. So, actually, that ended up being a good,
that's a good
question. Yeah, thank you.
We learned a lot about
me and
my spite. And
I will say, as my closing argument, I will say, Bill, thank you for that, at least. And your wish has been granted. You are Big B, DC is Bluebeard, and I hope you two kill each other. So
that is beautiful.
Thank you. Cecilia, what are we doing in 2 weeks?
All right.
Are we going back to the blessings?
We are going back to the blessings. And we are going to finish off from 85 to 101.
85 to 101.
All that is on the Bilibili app. And unfortunately, the Bilibili app is closing. So
get in there while you can.
Yeah, well, chances are this is coming out after said closing. But for you, and if you send us a message, there may be
we will help you locate another, absolutely, as far as this podcast is concerned, 100% legal way of obtaining that.
Isn't it only illegal if you make money off of it?
Don't know. I'll ask my lawyer's sister after we get off here.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there may be screenshots of things. But, and also, like, there's probably places you can find stuff on the internet.
There are absolutely places. I can't link to them in the show notes, but they exist. For now, we will be linking to Bilibili, and it will be a useless link probably by the time you get to it. But, yeah, that's what I can do under threat of imprisonment. So.
Distributing materials? Never.
No. And if I were, they were revolutionary anarchist materials. The revolution and such. All right. So that's all. Until next time.
Be your own ally.
Be your own ally. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to help us out, 5-star reviews, telling your friends, etc., etc., etc. If you got a little extra cash in your pocket, we do have a Patreon with all sorts of levels and all sorts of fun and prizes that can be won. But until next time, that's all I got.
Bye.